Welcome to Days of Roar, a Detroit Tiger podcast brought to you by the Detroit Free Press. My name is Mark Gorash. I am here with Free Press beat writer Evan Petzold, post-NCAA football championship game, ready to start talking about the only sport that really is any fun. Coming up soon, baseball, Major League Baseball, and especially Tiger Baseball. Ev? We're in the show now. It's our time. Countdown to spring training, and it's time to start talking Tiger baseball. How you doing?
I'm doing great, but yeah, the Detroit Lions lost. That sucked. Ohio State won the national championship. That sucked, at least if you're a Michigan fan. But on the bright side, to your point, Detroit Tigers pitchers and catchers report to spring training in Lakeland, Florida in 22 days. I get down there February 6th, so that's 16 days from today. Yes, I am counting down the days. Baseball is back. That's certainly how it feels, especially now with the Lions out of the playoffs. But enough about football. Let's talk about the latest with the Tigers. More importantly, the latest with the Alex Bregman saga. We got to jump right into that. I checked in about Alex Bregman and the Tigers over the past few days. I'm told negotiations between the Tigers and Bregman are at a standstill. Obviously, that can change at any time. All it takes is one phone call or one text message to spark something, but we've hit a dead stop in the negotiations between the Tigers and Bregman, which feels a lot different than like 3 weeks ago when I was told both sides had mutual interest and were at least willing to try to find some middle ground despite this gap in perceived value. Now I'm hearing negotiations are at a standstill, even though there is this mutual interest. Again, things can accelerate at any minute. A simple phone call or text message accomplishes that, but right now it's at a standstill. And what does that really mean? I don't really know if it means a whole lot because Alex Bregman is still a free agent. Like, we know Bregman doesn't have any interest in signing a short-term contract, which is probably a good thing for the Tigers, because if he were to be willing to take a 3-year deal with some opt-outs, let's just say, I mean, then at that point, you got half the league vying for your services, and that would not bode well for the Tigers. On a short-term deal with opt-outs, Bregman's probably going to a team like the Boston Red Sox over the Detroit Tigers all day, every day, because he would need to hit as many home runs as possible and as many doubles as possible before going back to the open market again. And he's got a swing that's made for Fenway Park, not for Comerica Park. And he can adjust to hit to the gaps for sure, but that green monster that's in left field there at Fenway Park, that's made for a guy like Alex Bregman who pulls the ball in the air. So I think best case scenario here is the Tigers and Alex Bregman are able to agree on a 5-year contract or something like that. Because if the Red Sox and the Tigers are both offering 3 years, I bet Bregman signs with the Red Sox. And if the Tigers are offering 5 years and the Red Sox are offering 3 years, and those are the best offers on the table, well, then I think Bregman signs the 5-year deal with the Tigers because he doesn't want the short-term 3-year deal with the Red Sox. And if both the Red Sox and the Tigers are offering 5 years, well, then it's all about the money, or whoever's willing to go to 6 years. Remember, Alex Bregman turned down 6 years, $156 million from the Houston Astros earlier in the offseason. Then the Astros pivoted to Isaac Paredes at third base and Christian Walker at first base. For the record, I don't think Alex Bregman will sign for 6 years, $156 that he turned down from the Astros. That's just my opinion. I just don't think he gets that many years or that much money. I think he ultimately gets about 5 years, $150 million. Maybe someone pays him more, but I just don't see it right now. And I shared more in Freep.com, so check out the story if you haven't already. But again, the latest I've heard is that contract negotiations between the Tigers and Bregman are at a standstill. So therefore, the Tigers need to make a decision here. Do you want to set the market or do you want to follow the market? Because when you follow the market, you run the risk of being the bridesmaid. If you set the market, you are lined up to be the bride. And here's another thing too. Tarik Skubal. He's set to become a free agent after the 2026 season. He is also represented by agent Scott Boras, just like Alex Bregman. I bet you Tarik Skubal is watching how all this plays out. I do think that's at least something to mention here, considering Boras is the only thing that connects Bregman and Skubal, unless Bregman becomes a Tiger. Now, I also received a big text message from a source on Friday around noon, and that text message read, quote, Anthony Santander is about to sign with the Blue Jays, end quote. And then Monday afternoon, the two sides cross the finish line. Anthony Santander has signed with the Blue Jays, which eliminates plan B for the Tigers. The Tigers had shown interest in Santander, but they were never considered the front runners for him. And also, the Tigers aren't signing Pete Alonso. They signed Gleyber Torres to play second base. They moved Colt Keith to first base. So they're not signing Pete Alonso. And the Blue Jays have signed the Tigers plan B in Anthony Santander, which leaves Alex Bregman as the only remaining impact bat who fits for the Tigers. So the question then becomes, are you going to go out and get him, or are you going to wait to see how the market unfolds? There's your weekly Alex Bregman, Anthony Santander update.
When people show you who they are, believe them the first time. That's all I have to say about that famous Maya Angelou quote. I think you can read into it whatever you want to read into it, but once upon a time, there was a press conference, guy with a nice suit, $200 haircut appeared to bring the Tigers back to respectability. And he said he never was going to concern himself with risk. He only was concerned with calculated risk. For 3 years later, they've only signed one free agent to longer than a 1-year contract. His name is Kenta Maeda. He's added one core player in a trade. So I don't know about calculated risk, but that seems like it was not very factual when it was offered as a strategic way of acquiring players. As far as what you said, I'm going to summarize this very quickly. Right now, the market for longer than a 3, maybe a 4-year deal is the Tigers and the Boston Red Sox likely. If it's going to be shorter than 5 years and you go into 4 years or 3 years or 4 years with a first year opt out, you bring in everybody that's a lot more attractive than the Detroit Tigers. And you basically are saying that you don't want Alex Bregman because you're not going to get Alex Bregman when it comes into a free-for-all where a guy is basically going to guarantee himself 4 years, get a 1-year opt-out. He's going to go for a place that gets the most visibility and he can hit the most homers. If that's going to be the case, you can count the Tigers out. All right, I'm just exhausted having this discussion. It's kind of ridiculous. And if you don't want to deal with the facts, you can tell yourself a story every day.
Well, again, Mark, it really just comes down to the fact that, the Tigers have to decide whether they're going to lead the market or follow the market. That's how I view it, at least based on everything that I've gathered from talking to multiple different people. It's like, the best case scenario, if you're following the market, the best case scenario is Bregman has no other long-term offers and the Tigers are the only team standing. That's the best case scenario. The worst case scenario, as you follow the market, is Bregman decides to sign elsewhere and the Tigers don't get a chance to counter, which leaves the Tigers completely out of control of Bregman's market, or he opts for the short-term deal, which then attracts more teams into the bidding. The only way you really win if you're following the market is if there is no market. And I think there's going to be enough of a market for a guy who's been worth 4 WAR over the past 3 seasons and is projected to be worth 4 WAR once again in 2025. There is going to be a market for that player. When you follow the market, the only way you win and you assure a win is if there is no market. And I just think there's a market for Alex Bregman, even though we haven't seen that big $200 million offer, and that's not coming, and the Tigers ain't going to pay that. But at the same time, I think there's enough of a market for Bregman that the Tigers could get burned by playing the waiting game, because again, it could go one of 2 ways. Either he signs elsewhere and you have really no chance to counter, or he takes the short-term deal and a bunch of teams jump in and then he gets his pick of where he wants to go. Those are both scenarios that don't bode well for the Tigers. Your best case scenario to sign him is to go out there, pay a little bit more to go out and get him, and you get Alex Bregman, not only the player, but you get the leader behind the scenes too. There are so many reasons why Alex Bregman is a good fit for the Tigers, and the Tigers know. The Tigers understand what those reasons are, and that's exactly why they're in these negotiations, and that's why it's all happening, is because Alex Bregman is the real deal, both on the field and off the field. But right now, things are at a standstill, and something's going to have to change if the Tigers want to get him. And I think that starts with the Tigers picking up the phone and making a call.
Well, I ask you this hypothetical question. 5 years into the Scott Harris regime, the only time he made the playoffs was 2024. Tarek Skubal leaves. He did not sign Alex Bregman. How do you think Scott Harris's 5 years will be looked at by ownership? How about that?
I'm not touching that question because I don't think it's fair, but I see you throwing it out there, but I don't think it's fair. I'm not even going to touch that question.
All I'm saying, there's repercussions to what you're doing, and everybody should think long and hard about what they're doing, because at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is winning. All right. Other things that happened this week, the Tigers signed 87-mile-an-hour knuckleballer Kenny Sirwa. Give us the breakdown on Kenny Sirwa, because there's just some amazing backstory on Kenny Sirwa.
Yeah, the Tigers have not signed Alex Bregman, not yet at least, but the Tigers did sign Kenny Sirwa. You are correct. A right-handed pitcher to a minor league contract. The contract, by the way, does not include an invitation to MLB spring training, so he will not be in camp with the big leaguers alongside Tarek Skubal, Jackson Jobe. Nope, not happening. He is going to be on the minor league side of camp, but we could see him called up from minor league camp as a backup pitcher for some big league spring training games. Anyway, Sirwa is not your typical right-handed pitcher. He's a 27-year-old knuckleball pitcher who went viral on social media over the past week or so for a bullpen he threw at Tread Athletics in North Carolina. He throws the fastest knuckleball ever recorded in baseball history, averaging 87 miles an hour and maxing out at 88.5 miles an hour. He also throws a slower variation of his knuckleball, about 5 to 10 miles an hour slower, which he calls the Yoshi pitch. He also throws a 94 mile an hour four-seam fastball. He also throws a low 90s sinker. He also throws a low 80s curveball. Again, this is Kenny Sirwa, a knuckleball pitcher. He pitched 6 seasons in college for 4 teams across 7 years. He also pitched for the Chicago Dogs in an independent league in 2024, posting a 4.22 ERA. I don't know if he can throw strikes. I don't know if he can compete against professional hitters. I don't know if he's ever going to get to the big leagues, but I am really looking forward to seeing his knuckleballs in the 9th inning of a random spring training game in Clearwater at some point here as we get to the spring. This is a guy that I'm very fascinated to watch pitch. We'll see if it ever becomes of anything, but it's cool to have a knuckleballer in the organization now.
Sounds like a Disney movie. I think you covered what the obstacles are to Kenny Sirwa. It sounds like more of a fun story than a real story, but I'm excited to see an 87 mile an hour knuckleball with a batter at the plate and a catcher having to catch it. All right. Question 1 of the big 2. The reliever market is moving. Who do you want the Tigers to sign? The big name came off the board this week to the LA Dodgers for $72 million for 4 years. Is there anybody left that intrigues you, Evan, and that you think can help the Tigers?
Yeah, the reliever market's been cooking. Trevor Hoffman signs the 3-year, $33 million contract with the Toronto Blue Jays. AJ Minter signs a 2-year, $22 million contract with the New York Mets. Jose Leclerc goes to the Athletics for 1 year, $10 million. And then you have the big fish, Tanner Scott, the best reliever on the free agent market. He signs a 4-year, $72 million contract with the Los Angeles Dodgers. But there are plenty of good high leverage relievers still on the free agent market, including Carlos Estevez, Kenley Jansen, Craig Kimbrell, Andrew Chafin, David Robertson, Paul Sewald, Kirby Yates, Tommy Kahnle, Kyle Finnegan. Those are some of the top names available. I know the Tigers are interested in adding a reliever, and I think they need to add a closer who misses bats. The whole concept of not going to name a closer thing, that's cute. And I understand the concept because you might want to use your best reliever in the 8th inning. But you know what real teams have? They have a real closer. Been there, done that. Give me the ball in the 9th inning, dudes. Guys with a little bit of an ego because they've got the track record. Someone opposing hitters are afraid to face in the biggest moments of the game. And I think the Tigers need one of those guys. And my personal favorite is right-hander Paul Sewald. He's been a closer for the majority of the past 4 seasons, recording 81 saves and 100 chances. He had a 3.06 ERA in 2021, a 2.67 ERA in 2022, and a 3.12 ERA in 2023. Then he had a 4.31 ERA in 2024. A pair of injuries impacted his performance, limited him to less than 40 innings. He dealt with an oblique strain and left neck discomfort. That happened last season. But when Paul Sewald is healthy, he gets a lot of strikeouts while limiting walks. From 2021 to 2023, he hovered around the 95th percentile in strikeout rate in the 40th percentile in walk rate. As for the stuff, it's a 92-mile-an-hour fastball, a swing and miss sweeper, and that's pretty much all it is. And I wonder if the Tigers maybe teach him a changeup to add another element to his mix. But remember this. Remember the fact that Sewald has been around the 40th percentile in walk rate in his past 3 fully healthy seasons, because that's really good when you hear the next 2 names. Because I also like Kenley Jansen. He's a right-hander. He's MLB's active saves leader with 447. He was a Red Sox closer for the past 2 seasons. He's been great. He's been phenomenal. He's not a sub-2 ERA guy anymore, but the track record is there. But Kenley Jansen in 2024 ranked in the 84th percentile in strikeout rate and the 62nd percentile in whiff rate, but he ranked in the 4th percentile in walk rate. That's a huge red flag. I also like David Robertson. He's 39 years old, not showing any signs of slowing down though. He had a 2.40 ERA in 2022, a 3.03 ERA in 2023, and a 3.00 ERA in 2024. He's thrown more than 63 innings in all 3 of those seasons. Health is not a concern. Both David Robertson and Kenley Jansen are not high velocity guys. Like Robertson, kind of like Jansen, relies on the cutter, primarily. Cutter average is 93 miles an hour for Robertson, and it's right around 92 miles an hour for Jansen. And again, like for David Robertson, not as bad, right? I mean, he ranked in the 96th percentile in strikeout rate and the 79th percentile in whiff rate, but his walk rate was only in the 29th percentile, which isn't great, but that's a lot better than Kenley Jansen being in the 4th percentile. And Kenley Jansen in the 4th percentile, Andrew Chafin in the 4th percentile, Kirby Yates in the 8th percentile for walk rate. That's no good. That's miserable. You can't be walking guys like that no matter how many bats you miss. But Robertson was in the 29th percentile, which is respectable. It's also why I like Paul Sewald, whose walk rate has been in that 40th percentile recently when he's healthy. So those are my guys, Paul Sewald, Kenley Jansen, and David Robertson. But you can definitely talk me into other names like Andrew Chafin, Kirby Yates. I really like guys who miss bats, but it's just really hard for me to get over high walk rates. I don't like guys who give up free passes. It just kind of defeats the point.
I think it's Kirby Yates or die for me. When you talk about issues with walk rate, the Dodgers just paid somebody $72 million. It's probably in the bottom 5% of walk rate. So if you can miss bats, that's great. I'm eager to have a guy that can miss bats and close, even if he doesn't need to always close. It opens up a lot more leverage usage for Holton, Vest, Foley, and Brisky when you know you have a guy to throw the 9th. He's got a lot of backup. That's my play. The other thing, I think the way the Tigers are thinking, there's a good chance that Matt Manning and Casey Mize are both going to be thought of as relievers if they don't quickly cut it as starters. So I do wonder, if that's their secondary plan. All right, let's move on to question 2, the big 2. Japanese phenom Roki Sasaki signed with the LA Dodgers. Everybody signed with the LA Dodgers. My next grandchild, who isn't born yet, signed with the LA Dodgers. I just want everyone to know. How do you feel about the Tigers? Baby Petzold. Did Baby Petzold sign with the Dodgers yet or not?
Not yet, but we're getting ready.
Okay. How do you feel about the Tigers not even getting a meeting? Is it a bad look?
I would have liked to see the Tigers get a meeting, and I think it would have said a lot about how far the organization has come over the past couple of years, especially in the pitching development department. But I don't think it's a bad look. Here's what I think is a bad look. What was a bad look when the Tigers didn't even send materials to Shohei Ohtani in December 2017. This guy Ohtani is one of the best players in MLB history, and he picked the Los Angeles Angels, and he cost just $2 million for 6 years, and the Tigers didn't even try back in December 2017. To me, that's a bad look on the past regime, led by former general manager Al Avila. Sure, the Tigers probably had a less than 0.1% chance to get Ohtani, but they gave themselves a 0% chance when they didn't even try to sign him. To me, that's pathetic. And that's almost as pathetic as the 10 teams that didn't send materials to Roki Sasaki in December 2024. But the Tigers aren't one of those teams anymore. Now, the Tigers didn't get a meeting. Sasaki met with at least 8 teams: Los Angeles Dodgers, San Diego Padres, Toronto Blue Jays, New York Mets, New York Yankees, Chicago Cubs, Texas Rangers, San Francisco Giants. And then he visited his 3 finalists, Dodgers, Padres, Blue Jays. And Roki Sasaki ultimately picked the Dodgers, which is where everyone expected him to end up long before he was even posted. He signed a minor league contract with the Dodgers, just like Ohtani did with the Angels, because he was subject to international bonus pool money restrictions because of his age. So Sasaki signed a minor league contract with the Dodgers for a $6.5 million signing bonus. Basically, the Dodgers gain team control of Sasaki for the next 6 seasons for about $10 million total when you consider what he's going to be making on the base salary over the 6 years of his contract, plus the $6.5 million signing bonus. This was dirt cheap. And that's why the Tigers were in the mix, and that's why everybody was in the mix, because it was a fair fight across the board, even though, again, it seemed like Sasaki wanted to be a Dodger long before he was even posted. But yeah, I would have loved for the Tigers to get a meeting, but Sasaki only met with large market teams. He didn't even meet with any mid-market or small market teams. At the winter meetings, his agent, Joel Wolf, suggested that a mid-market team or a small market team could be a better landing spot because Sasaki didn't like the media in Japan. So obviously that got a lot of Tigers fans excited, and understandably so. But that turned out to be BS because Sasaki didn't meet with any mid-market teams. Now, I'm not knocking Sasaki for picking the Dodgers, right? Like, who wouldn't want to play for the Dodgers? Seriously, if I were a player, I would do anything to play for the Los Angeles Dodgers. So I'm not taking a shot at Sasaki for his decision. I'm just saying fans should not be upset with the Tigers for not getting a meeting when Sasaki only met with large market teams. If the Milwaukee Brewers got a meeting, or if the Tampa Bay Rays got a meeting, or if the Cleveland Guardians got a meeting, then I would feel embarrassed if the Tigers didn't get a meeting. But none of those pitching savvy teams got a meeting, and neither did the Tigers, so I ain't holding it against them.
Hey, I read nothing into it. What you just said is the perfect answer. Milwaukee, Cleveland, Tampa, all great pitching factories, no meeting. So why should the Tigers feel they deserve the meeting more than those teams? It's pretty linear, both in accomplishment. You know, some of those teams have actually won their division the past few years. So am I shocked that Roki Sasaki signed with the Dodgers? Well, they offered him a chance to go live in one of the best places in the world, assuming it's not on fire, to a team that has one of the best player development locations with 2 other Japanese players and a team that won the World Series last year. I don't think there's much to discuss about why the LA Dodgers won the sweepstakes. Period. End of story. It's not real complicated. All right. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, Evan Petzold has landed an unbelievable guest who did great things for the Detroit Tigers. He's going to talk about a lot of things. We got a Hall of Fame announcement coming up tomorrow. He even has a few pieces of info about that. Former Tiger shortstop Carlos Guillén will be Days of Roar's guest when we come back on the other side.
I'd like to welcome former Detroit Tigers player Carlos Guillén to the Days of Roar podcast to break down the Baseball Hall of Fame ballot in 2025. We're going to talk about Carlos being teammates with Ichiro Suzuki when Ichiro came to the United States from Japan in 2001, and being teammates with Alex Rodriguez when A-Rod was worth a career-high 10.4 B-WAR in 2000. We're also going to discuss Carlos's 14-year MLB career, including 8 seasons with the Tigers from 2004 to 2011, in which he made the All-Star game in 2004, 2007, and 2008. His best season was 2006, hitting .320 with 19 home runs in 153 games as the Tigers switch hitting shortstop. Carlos, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Well, thank you, guys. Thank you. I'm really happy to get back to my fans.
Hey, so I want to start with the Hall of Fame class, but before we get into that, do you know there's another Carlos Guillén, same first and last name, also from Venezuela, who is currently an employee for the Tigers?
Well, I heard about it, but I never met him. Miggy told me the other day he was another Carlos Guillén in the organization, but he don't work on the field. He works on the office, I think.
Yeah, the other Carlos Guillén is the Tigers' manager of Spanish communications and broadcasting, but again, like, despite you guys having the same name and both being from Venezuela, like, you are not him. Some fans think you are him. It even says you are him on your Wikipedia page. I'm looking at your Wikipedia page right now. It tells me you have a broadcasting career with the Tigers, but that's not true. To all Tigers fans, these are 2 different Carlos Guilléns. This guy who I'm talking to right now, he used to play baseball for the Tigers. The other one works in radio broadcasting for the Tigers. So I don't know. Do people ever get you guys confused?
No, not really. It's happened to me one time, like I said before, with Miggy. But no, it's very praised, you know. Same name, same country. I don't know if he born in the same city where I born, Maracay, but that's good to have him in the front office and in the organization, because make a lot of reminder for the fans. You know, we meet a different colors of where he was on the field. He was used to play shortstop, but that's great. That's great.
All right, well, we're talking to Carlos Guillén, the player, the shortstop, the guy who was on the field. You retired from baseball in March 2012. You had a great career, 14 seasons in the big leagues, more than 1,300 games, more than 5,200 plate appearances, more than 1,300 hits, more than 120 home runs. What have you been doing for the last 13 years? Can you kind of give your fans an update on your life over the past 13 years since you retired?
Yes, I'm still in baseball. I still every day on the field. I created a baseball academy here in Venezuela. We already have like 14 years, no, maybe 12 years, 13 years with the academy. Soon as retire, I dedicate to build young kids, to teach young kids how to play the game. You know, I love kids, teaching kids playing baseball. So I was on the field. I used to be a president on the winter ball baseball team. Also, I was a GM for the Venezuelan World Baseball Classic team too. But I love baseball, man.
All right, well, let's talk about some Hall of Fame-worthy baseball players. Let's get into the Hall of Fame class of 2025. There are 28 names on the ballot, including 14 newcomers. The results of the vote from the Baseball Writers Association of America will be announced Tuesday, January 21st on MLB Network. We got to start with Ichiro Suzuki, who is on the ballot for the first time and is expected to receive 100% of the vote, which means if that happens, he would join Mariano Rivera as the only unanimous inductee into the Hall of Fame in all of baseball history. You played for the Seattle Mariners when Ichiro Suzuki came from Japan to the United States in 2001. When did you first hear the name Ichiro? What did you think about him when he signed with the Mariners? And what was it like meeting him for the first time in spring training in 2001?
Well, I mean, Ichiro, I think 1 year before, a year or 2 years before, because he was invited to the camp in spring training for the Seattle Mariners. But 2 years later, he come to play with the Seattle Mariners, and it's unbelievable. To me, he has to be the next player unanimous on the Hall of Fame, because he's a very special. The numbers he have, the discipline, the respect he have for the games, I never saw any player like that. For the teammate, he respect the teammate, he respect the fans. To me, that's very important for a baseball player getting to the Hall of Fame. And he's one of those guys. He's one of those guys when he meet a Spanish player, he trying to speak Spanish. When he meet a American player, he speak English. And he's a very respect guy. To me, he's one of the best players I ever played. He can catch the ball. He can hit the ball. He can roll. He put a lot of pressure on the defense. He's a close hitter too. He's a winner. He prepares himself before the game, for the season. He prepares himself for everything. That's why I say he's a very disciplined player. Used to be a very disciplined player. To me, he's one of the best players I ever played. To me, the discipline is one of the most important things in baseball career, in your life. And he's one of those guys. You want to keep it in your team. You want to keep it as a friend. You want to keep it right next to you.
For sure. Well, it was really impressive what he did in 2001, his first season in the big leagues. He hit .350 with 242 hits and 56 steals. He won American League Rookie of the Year and American League MVP in his first MLB season. Did you ever expect that from him in his first year?
Well, I saw training when we were almost in the same group and BP, and he can hit the ball far too for home runs. Like I say, it's the first time I saw him in spring training, I say he's going to be a very, very special player, because the discipline, he's very smart too. So I always say when you have the discipline, you can do whatever you want to do.
Ichiro had more than 200 hits in 10 seasons in a row, 2001 to 2010. Can you explain to everyone how difficult that is to accomplish? And can you help me understand how Ichiro was able to do it as a hitter? 200 hits in 10 seasons in a row. Just for some context, Miguel Cabrera, who you mentioned earlier, he only had more than 200 hits one time in 2012. Ichiro did it 10 seasons in a row. How difficult was it and how did he do it?
It's very, very difficult for a player play every day. It's very, very difficult for a player play more than 10 years in the big leagues. And he's one of those guys because, like I say, always discipline. He has to routine. He never miss his routine before the game, and that make a lot of difference when you be consistent every day doing what you need to do. That's made the difference. And he was one of those guys. He prepares himself every day. He prepares himself for this long season, and he never strike out. He put the ball in play. He hit a lot of infield hits. That's good. That's what they say. He prepared his body to be fast all the time, to put pressure on the defense. He was a very special player because he got the talent, he got the mentality, he got the discipline, he got everything. That's why he 200 hits for more than 10 years, I think.
It's really impressive. Let's talk about another teammate that you had in Seattle, Alex Rodriguez. You guys played together in 1998, 1999, and 2000. After that, A-Rod went to the Texas Rangers. But your first full season in the big leagues was 2000. That year, Alex Rodriguez hit .316 with 41 home runs while playing shortstop for the Mariners. What was it like watching him do that during your first big league season, and what made him special as a player?
Well, he's the same. All those players, they're very, very similar out of the field and the clubhouse and the off season. Alex A-Rod, who is a guy who worked every day too hard to be in this position where he are right now. He was a very smart. He always talking about hitting every day on the bus, on the plane, in the clubhouse, on breakfast. He always talking about hitting, about baseball every day, all the time. You go with A-Rod for lunch, talking about baseball. He talked to you about the pitchers we want to face the day. You on the plane, we went to San Francisco or whatever, the city. He got in his pocket all the videos for the next series or the other pitchers. That's why making him very, very special player. Like I say, he was a very, very disciplined player. He was young. He got the talent. He can do a lot of good things in baseball. He's one of the best players, to me, the best player I ever played.
Alex Rodriguez, one of the greatest players in MLB history, but he also was suspended a year for the PED use. I know you're not a Hall of Fame voter, but do you think he should be in the Hall of Fame?
Yes. To me, he should be in the Hall of Fame because by then, I don't know about steroids. I don't know about it. But this happened. Everybody make a mistake. A lot of some players in the Hall of Fame, they make a mistake. Everybody, we are human. So to me, he should be in the list.
Here's another big name for you, Carlos Beltran. You and Carlos Beltran both made your MLB debuts in 1998. You were with the Mariners. He was with the Kansas City Royals. We didn't have social media back then, but how much did you know about Carlos Beltran when you guys both came to the big leagues in 1998? Did you know about him? Did you know he was a big name player, or did you not know much until later on?
Yes, I know about it because he was on the Baseball America. He's going to be a special player, and you start following him, and he was a very, very special player. He can play. He used to be a good friend and one of my friends, and he's a very, very nice person too. We don't play together, but when we play against Carlos, you have to be careful when he come up to hits, because he was a close hitter too. To me, that's very important for a player trying to go to the Hall of Fame, because when you are a close hitter, close player, you want players like that on your team. So make your team different. So that's why he was so successful on the playoffs. He was successful during the season. So to me, it should be to give it the chance to be a Hall of Fame.
Ichiro Suzuki is a lock for the Hall of Fame in 2025. Another guy who's a lock for the Hall of Fame is CC Sabathia. Now, you stepped into the batter's box 48 times against CC Sabathia. Do you know your numbers against him?
I don't know the numbers, but I don't know. The only thing I know, he was very, very aggressive.
Do you want to know your numbers against him?
Yes, please. Yes.
All right, you hit 295 with 1 home run, 3 walks, and 7 strikeouts. Now, you faced him the most in 2006 and 2007. In those 2 seasons, you went 7 for 22 against him, which is a .318 batting average. Let's not forget, CC Sabathia won the Cy Young in 2007. So you were raking against him when he was at his best. I guess how good is it to know you had those kind of numbers against CC Sabathia? And what do you remember about those matchups when he was with Cleveland and you were with Detroit?
Well, I remember CC. He was a fastball pitcher. He was a big guy, and we're in the same division. He used to play by then for the Cleveland Indians. Before the game, I said, I'm going to be aggressive early in the count, because when you get to 2 strikes, you get in trouble, because he used to throw harder. By then, 96, 97 miles per hour for a guy almost 6'5", 6'7", big guy, lefty, throwing inside, 96, 97, 98 miles per hour with a big slider. But for a slider, you have to be early in the count aggressive. I think that was the big difference to me in those years. But I heard about it. He's a good teammate, good guy on the clubhouse, but he was one of the best pitchers.
He's also one of just 15 players to reach 250 wins and 3,000 strikeouts. Wow. To you, what makes CC Sabathia a Hall of Famer on his first ballot?
Numbers talk. When you got the numbers, you can tell. When you got numbers, you know, nowhere. So that's CC. He throw a lot of innings. That to me, that was the key, because you throw a lot of innings, you're going to have good numbers.
Last Hall of Fame question for you. Former Tigers manager Jim Leyland was inducted into the Hall of Fame last year as part of the 2024 class. What was it like playing for Jim Leyland, and what's your favorite Jim Leyland memory?
Well, I would like to say thanks to God, because put me in those hands. To me, Jimmy was one of the most special managers. I learned a lot from Jim, because he talked a lot with the players. He give you the confidence. He knows the game. He's very aggressive. And the most important thing to me is keep the chemistry in the clubhouse. Talk about before batting practice, playing cards. He was funny too. He was so funny. So give you a lot of confidence, and that's good for young guys. I think that's why he was so successful in his career. I think that's why he's in that position right now. He deserves it. You know, he brings to the Tiger Town a lot of good things, man. You know, he was there for how many years? I don't know.
He was there for a long time. He's one of the most beloved managers in Tigers history.
Yeah, he loved Detroit, and he loved baseball. The best thing happened to me, play with Jim.
Okay, so enough about everybody else. Carlos Guillén, are you ready to talk about your career?
Yes, I'm ready.
What was it like getting traded, man, from the Mariners to the Tigers in January 2004? For those who don't remember, it was Carlos Guillén to the Tigers for Juan Gonzalez and Ramon Santiago. Were you surprised at that trade, or did you expect it?
I was expecting it. And I was so happy as soon as they trade me, because I say, well, maybe I play a little bit more relaxed, because I come to the team, they come into lost 119 games. I don't remember, but play with young guys coming from Seattle. When you win 160 games, play shortstop, come to another city. I asked friends of mine about Detroit City. He told me it's a great city to play sports. And we're so happy when they get there. I mean, Dave Dombrowski, one of the best GM, to me, the best GM I ever met. Alan Trammell, one of the best players, Hall of Fame, in Detroit Tigers. Willie Horton, he used to play in Venezuela. We're so happy. I'm feeling like at home. That's why I love Detroit so much, man.
Well, you're right. The Tigers lost 119 games in 2003, and the Mariners won 93 games in 2003. So you were going from a good team to a bad team, but then the Tigers signed Pudge Rodriguez just 1 month after trading for you. How big was the Pudge Rodriguez signing to really help you turn things around? Because, I mean, it was kind of you and Pudge, and you guys kind of got things started.
Yes, well, that's one of the best decisions, I think, or the best decision I think Detroit Tigers bring to the team. Because Post brings you a lot of energy, a lot of experience. He was a hard worker every day. Like I say, he talked baseball every day, like aero and on the balls, on the plane. That make a lot of difference because that make you come early to the field and talk to Post. Talk about the game, the way we want to play, they prepare ourselves. Those kids, I think that was the big difference when we come to Detroit.
You made the All-Star game for the first time in 2004. You were 28 years old. You're a three-time All-Star, but what do you remember about your first All-Star experience in 2004? What was that like?
I remember I don't play the game.
Really?
Well, yeah, I don't play the game because sometimes you have to. That by then, so one player, they don't play because you need to keep one guy in the reserve, That's me. But I enjoy. In that game, I mean, Barry Ball's one of the best players, one of my favorite players. I mean, A-Rod the game, he come from Texas. Ichiro was there. I remember Ichiro every All-Star game, we were right next to him in the clubhouse because when we was in Seattle, we playing so low toss together. A lot of good memories. I was nervous when they sing the national anthem over there. We're so excited, But that's really good memories from my first All-Star game.
What clicked for you in Detroit? You were a good player in Seattle, but you became a really good player in Detroit. More hits, more home runs, more games. What was working for you when you came to Detroit that was different than when you were in Seattle?
Well, Dave Dombrowski. Dave Dombrowski was really important in my career because the way he treated the players, the way he walked in the clubhouse, the staff, Alan Trame, the trainers, the fans. To me, the fans make a lot of difference. It was a really big difference, the fans in Detroit, because every time you walk on the mall, they know you. You go for loss, they know you. You in the airport, they know you. They recognize you really quick because they're following baseball over there. So that make you feel at home. You have to, when you come to the field, you have to feel pressure to give the best you can on the field for those fans. They've been watching you. You be one of those, make you work extra, make you win, because they're looking for win. I remember fans, we need to win. It was really hard to make a lot of difference to walking around on the clubhouse. I can't. So you see right next to William talk about win. That's very important for all the other fans.
You talk about winning. What do you remember about 2006?
Well, I told Milo, you need to do something right. Yeah, when he hit the home run, I was on the circle, and I said, that's you, Milo, that's you. He did that big home run. That's one of the most special moments in my career.
Based on stats, you were the best player on that team. You also, by the way, you were the only MLB player to hit 320 with at least 19 home runs and 19 stolen bases in the regular season in 2006. And then you had a ton of hits in the postseason too. How special was the 2006 season for you personally?
Well, it was a very special because, like I said before, the fans made me think a little bit different because we need to win. I remember we lost the last game against Kansas City and we went straight to New York, played the first series. I say, if we win New York, we win the World Series. We made it. I remember talking to Alavila. He was worried about playing New York. I say, no, I already played New York twice when I was in Seattle. I want to beat those guys right now. So if we win New York, we win the World Series. It happened. So the mentality, the preparation is very important. Trying to bring that chemistry, trying to bring those little things to the clubhouse make a lot of difference. Trying to explain those your teammate how important is to win, how important is prepare yourself before the game to try to win. If you don't prepare yourself before the game, you don't expect to win. Because when you walk out around those two white lines, you need to be prepared. That's the only thing you win games. So that's what Jim Leyland, Dave Dombrowski, all the staff they bring to the clubhouse. That's that's the point where we meet together. We need to win. We don't need to talk about something else. We need to talk about how we want to win. So that year was a very special year because we keep everybody healthy. We keep a lot of communication, and that's the other two things make you win.
You mentioned the Maglio Ordonez home run already, but just, man, what was it like when Maglio Ordonez hits the 3-run walk-off home run off Houston Street in the ALCS to send the Tigers to the World Series? Yeah, you were in the on-deck circle. What was it like watching that ball fly? And then what was the celebration like after he touched home plate and you guys were going to the World Series?
Oh, man, I jumped to the field. I jumped to the home plate, tried to be the first guy. You had to Maglio. Everybody was talking before Milo get home. We made it. The bullpen. We saw to the bullpen. We see the bullpen coming to the home plate. It was a very, very special moment. It's the most important moment I ever have.
One of your most memorable moments with the Tigers happened on August 24th, 2007. You hit a walk-off 3-run home run in the 11th inning for a 9-6 win over the New York Yankees at Comerica Park. But you hit the home run at 3:30 a.m.
3:30 a.m.
The game didn't even start until 11 p.m. because of a rain delay that lasted more than 4 hours. What do you remember about that day? What did you do during the rain delay? And how much fun was that home run?
Always when with a rain delay, I prepare myself because I learned those things from good players like Ichiro. When the rain's delay, a lot of players playing cars or whatever, relax. I try to keep my mind on the game. I try to keep stretching. I like to keep myself prepared for the game, prepared for the moment because we don't want to play until 6 a.m. We can get this thing over. Fortunately, I hit a fastball. I think his fastball, I went out of the park.
Did you sleep good that night?
Wow, yeah. We so tired.
All right, so hey, I want to keep going. What was it like when Miguel Cabrera showed up in 2008?
I was so happy because I know Miguel from he was a kid. We both from Venezuela, but we both from Maracay. I know that kind of player they bring to Detroit Tigers, and I know it's going to be a very, very special years for the coming years for the Detroit Tigers because he's a winner. He's a guy. He's a very, very special player.
The other thing, too, just like as a fellow Venezuelan, I have to ask another Miguel Cabrera question. Where does Miggy rank among Venezuelan baseball players, and what do you think about his career?
Number one. To me, he's the number one player from this country. Should be a Hall of Fame, too. It's Miggy. Miggy worked from he was young. He was 12 years old. He was the man. He was the man all the time.
I have one more question to ask you about your career, and Tigers fans would be very upset with me if I didn't ask you about it because the fans in Detroit still talk about it, maybe more than they talk about the 3:30 a.m. home run. So here we go. It was July 31st, 2011. The big question is, like, what happened that day with Jered Weaver? Obviously, he was not happy with Maglio Ordonez, who watched the ball, maybe to see if it was fair on his home run in the 3rd inning. And then you crushed a home run in the 7th inning. And on the very next pitch, Weaver threw at the head of Alex Avila and was ejected. But on your home run, before Weaver threw at Avila, you stood in the batter's box, watched the ball fly, you flipped your bat, you stared down Jered Weaver. It was pretty badass. Yeah. Weaver maybe felt disrespected, but like there's always two sides of the story. Walk me through everything that happened that day.
Well, Milo hit a home run. I think it was in the 1st inning. He walked to Milo. He wasn't sure if it was fair or foul. We will jump to the home plate and say, "Run the base, run the base." When he run the base, he get to the dugout. We talk to Milo. What did he say? I don't know. So me and myself, we trying to hit a home run later. I say, if you hit a home run, you stand the home plate, trying to see if he gonna come right after you. I said the same. So in my last at bat, my next at bat, I was trying to do too much. And my last at bat, I say, okay, be quiet, trying to put the ball in play, trying to hit hard. And he put me early at the count 2 strikes. I get the count 3-2. He throw me like a quarter inside. I hit it hard. I don't see the ball. As soon as I hit the ball, I look to Weaver. Hey, come here now. So I think it was a very, very, very moment special for me, for the fans, because they enjoyed that home run more than me. The fans enjoyed that home run more than me, I think, because everybody talking about that home run that day. I think they're still talking about that home run that day.
Just so you know, Tigers fans celebrate July 31st as Carlos Guillén Day.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
No, they do. They do.
Oh, yeah, that's good. That's good because that's for the fans, like I said earlier. So you play for the fans over there. You play because the fans, they don't care if you win or lose. Every day they went to the ballpark to support you, the players. So that's it. That's why it makes Detroit so special. A lot of players like that. A lot of players like when they come to the field and they scream, they're fighting, they crazy. So they make you do things crazy like that because you enjoy with the fans at the moment.
I guess last thing for you, what's your message to the fans? I mean, they were great to you for all your years in Detroit. Obviously, they still care a lot about you because they talk about July 31st as Carlos Guillén Day. Did you have a message for Tigers fans out there?
Yes, I love you guys. I miss you guys so much. I'll be there soon. Okay? Thank you.
All right, Carlos, that's all we have for you. This was a lot of fun. I really appreciated your insight into all of those potential Hall of Fame members, as well as everything about your 14-year MLB career. Thank you for joining the Days of Roar podcast.
No, thank you, man. Thank you. You're welcome.
Everyone, that was Carlos Guillén, who played for the Tigers from 2004 to 2011. We have more to discuss in this week's episode, but first, let's take a break.
All right. Is it ever not going to be fun discussing Carlos Guillén homering off of Jered Weaver in watching him bat flip and then run around the bases? That will never grow old as far as I'm concerned. And just one of the most underrated, really, really good players of the last 30 years for the Detroit Tigers. Wish we had him right now. All right. So time to discuss a few other things. Hall of Fame going to get announced tomorrow. We know Ichiro's for sure a lock. Be interested to see who else makes it. The first question I want to know is, how many more years do you have to wait? And how many kids will you have by the time Evan Petzold is eligible to vote for the Baseball Hall of Fame?
Yeah, Hall of Fame announcement is Tuesday on MLB Network. It's going to be really interesting to see who gets in. Yeah, Ichiro Suzuki is a lock. CC Sabathia is a lock. I'm really interested to see if Billy Wagner gets in and if Andrew Jones gets in. Those are the two big names that I'm looking for. I really do think Ichiro Suzuki's a lock, as is CC Sabathia. It was great to hear from Carlos Guillén on both of those two players. But in terms of my Hall of Fame vote, here's a hint for people. It's the final year Alex Rodriguez will be on the ballot. That will be my first year of voting. So I'm going to walk you through all this. To vote for the Hall of Fame, you have to be an active member of the Baseball Writers Association of America for at least 10 consecutive years, and you have to be active covering MLB on a regular basis. My first year of BBWAA membership was the 2021 season. So I will complete my 10th year of membership at the end of the 2030 season. And since voting takes place every December, I will vote for the first time in December 2030 for the Hall of Fame class of 2031. So you mentioned my kid. When that happens, my soon-to-be-born child is going to be 5 going on 6, which is T-ball age, and that's pretty awesome to think about. But anyway, my first Hall of Fame vote will be for the class of 2031, which means I'll have to make the important Alex Rodriguez decision in his final year on the ballot. A-Rod went from 34.3% in 2022 to 35.7% in 2023 to 34.8% in 2024. As of right now, Alex Rodriguez has a more than 41% of the vote in 2025. That's only counting like 45% of the ballots, thanks to Ryan Thibodeau, who does the Baseball Hall of Fame ballot tracker. So it's probably going to be a little bit of a drop between now and when it gets announced from that current 41%. But as a reminder, players only need 5% to stay on the ballot. And if you get 75%, then you're in the Hall of Fame. So A-Rod is going to stay on the ballot for all 10 years of eligibility, taking him through the 2031 class. And if he's going to get in, it's probably going to take all 10 years with a fresh crop of voters, maybe eventually pushing him over the top. That leaves me with a very important decision to think about between now and December 2030 when I vote. Do I vote for Alex Rodriguez, one of the greatest baseball players of all time, who used steroids? My answer right now is I don't really know, but maybe I'm leaning yes. I mean, I have a lot of time to think about it, but I'm back and forth on that topic right now. But obviously, it's going to be something that's going to come into play in December 2030 when I vote for the first time.
Yeah, it's a big question. I don't think as the way the rules and the narrative is set up now, he's ever getting in, and that needs to change because the idea of having a Hall of Fame and there's no Barry Bonds, there's no A-Rod, there's no Roger Clemens, it's kind of blasphemous. Just explain the steroid era, Mark McGwire. I mean, how are these guys not in the Hall of Fame? It's part of baseball history. And there's a lot of guys done a lot worse. Kurt Schilling, a terrible human. He belongs in the Hall of Fame now. We can debate all this stuff, but it's exhausting debating it. We debate it every year. And bottom line is it's a hall of public opinion. And if we're putting the best baseball players of the eras in, some of these guys need to go in no matter how terrible a human they were. I mean, unless they committed some crimes. All right. Got one last question before we get out of here. I think it's time to start discussing it. And we discussed quite a bit of the narrative of it to kick this pod off. But if the Detroit Tigers add no one else, what's your impression of the offseason? I think it's a question we need to ask at the end of every podcast. And so what do you think?
I would be extremely disappointed. So far, it's been Alex Cobb for 1 year, $15 million, and Gleyber Torres for 1 year, $15 million. Here's what the data tells me. The Tigers have 7 players projected by Fangraphs to be worth at least 1.5 F4 on the position player side. Terry Carpenter at 1.5, Matt Vierling at 1.7, Colt Keith at 2.2, Jake Rogers at 2.6, Parker Meadows at 2.8, Gleyber Torres at 3.8, Riley Green at 4.0. Tigers also have 4 pitchers projected by Fangraphs to be worth at least 1.5 F4. Casey Mize at 1.6, Alex Cobb at 1.9, Reese Olson at 2.2, and Tarek Skubal at 5.0. But you only have 3 total players projected to be worth at least 3 WAR, according to Fangraphs: Tarek Skubal, Gleyber Torres, and Riley Green. I think you need one more 3 WAR player, specifically a position player, specifically Alex Bregman. Right now, the Tigers have 2 position players projected for at least 3 WAR, Gleyber Torres at 3.8 and Riley Green at 4.0. So the Tigers have 2 of those guys on offense. Here's what some of the other American League contenders have. The Orioles have 3 on offense. The Boston Red Sox, they have 2 on offense. The Guardians have 2 on offense. The Astros have 6 on offense. The Twins have 2 on offense. The Yankees have 4 on offense. The Mariners have 2 on offense. The Rangers have 3 on offense. The Blue Jays have 4 on offense. The Rays have 3 on offense. The Athletics, for crying out loud, have 4 of those guys projected for 3 WAR on offense. And remember, the Tigers only have 2 position players projected for at least 3 WAR in Gleyber Torres and Riley Green. So there are a lot of AL teams with better position players on offense, at least according to the projections. The Tigers need to add another impact bat if they want to beat those teams and make a deeper run in the playoffs. They need a guy like Alex Bregman. I think it could haunt the Tigers if they don't sign Alex Bregman. They need more firepower on offense.
Hey, here's the bottom line. For 10 years, the Tigers have sold their fans with 2 words. What if? What if Riley Green is good? What if Tarek Skubal is good? What if Casey Mize finally is good? What if Matt Manning finds his stride as a starting pitcher? What if Javi Baez bounces back from multiple back operations?
But Mark, you know what the question is now? The question is, what if Max Clark is good? What if Kevin McGonigal is good? What if Thyron Lorenzo is good? That's the same questions that are being asked now, the same way they were being asked about Casey Mize and Matt Manning and Tarek Skubal and Spencer Torkelson and Riley Green. Like, it's this fresh crop of prospects now, and it's the what if game. What if? What if Kevin McGonigal is really good? What if Max Clark is really good? I don't know. What if Kevin McGonigal is the next Alex Bregman? What if Max Clark is the next Johnny Damon? But what if they're not? What if they're not?
Here's what I'll say. What if the Tigers would have drafted Wyatt Langford instead of Max Clark? What if Tarek Skubal leaves? What if Riley Green can't play more than 130 games ever? What if Parker Meadows is an always inconsistent hitter? What if Colt Keith doesn't develop his power? See, you can play the game both ways. People don't like to play the game both ways, but you can. It's real easy always to look and be optimistic about things, but I think it's better to be a realist because it's going to be a little bit of both. And if this is the best effort that the front office can put forth after making the playoffs and beating the Houston Astros and almost beating the Cleveland Guardians, and all they can do is sign one pitcher who started 3 times in 2024 and a second baseman who did not re-sign with the New York Yankees when the Yankees actually do need a second baseman. And that's all you did for the entire offseason. It doesn't seem very much in good faith. And if Chris Ilitch has ever said anything, he likes to posture himself as the caretaker of the Detroit Tigers and putting forth a good faith effort for his fans. Well, if raising parking lot prices $8 in every lot and raising behind the seat prices where Mark Gorash likes to sit to $600 a seat and then only adding Alex Cobb and Gleyber Torres and having a $105 million payroll. Not so sure that's in good faith. That's all I got to say on that. So, got any thoughts on that, Mr. Petzold?
I think you just did what they would call a mic drop.
All right, it's time to get out of here. Hopefully something good is going to happen this week. Hopefully anything will happen this week. I'd like to remind everybody to rate, share, subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, especially YouTube. And you can always find us embedded in every single Evan Petzold article at thefreep.com. I'd like to thank our editor, Nicole Avery Nichols. Shout out to our producer, the man, the magic man, Robin Chan. Love to my 2 grandsons, and love to the spectacular, soon-to-be mommy, Savannah Petzold. Until next week, peace.